Welcome to Retirement Solutions, the podcast. I'm Ryan Thacker, along with my brother Tyson. We have a special guest today. This is going to be so much fun. We're having a conversation. We're going to do this actually in two different parts here. We're going to have two segments because we just couldn't cram it all into one. And this is such a fun topic that we get lots of different requests on from all the families that we serve here at B.O.S. Retirement Solutions and Advisors. But today's first segment, we're calling it Dream Destinations and Smart Planning for Retirees with Laura Murdoch. And I'm going to let Tyson do the introduction here in a second. But Laura, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you here. And Tyson, I'm going to go ahead and turn this time over to you, and let's introduce this topic.
Yeah, Laura, we're so excited to have you because we're discussing one of the biggest dreams that our clients share, and that's traveling in retirement. And, we sit down with a client, and one of the first things that we talk through is, what dreams and goals do you have? And most of the time, their top answer is traveling. So we're excited to dive into everything that you need to know to prepare for your dream vacation today. And as always, we're going to talk about it from a retirement angle, especially as it relates to the B.O.S. Retirement Blueprint, to make sure that you can make all of your travel dreams a reality.
Laura, we are so excited to welcome you to the show. This, for those of you listening, we have Laura Murdoch from Morris Columbus Travel on with us today. And Laura has been helping individuals and families just plan amazing trips and travel experiences worldwide. And Laura, we think that you would do a better job introducing your background because this is such a fun topic. But please just tell us a little bit about you, why you got into travel, and why this is your passion.
Yeah, so I have always loved to travel. Ever since I was a little girl, I would write to the Chamber of Commerce's, this is pre-internet, and get their brochures that I could like plan my own trips.
Wow.
When I went to college, I wanted to study travel and tourism, but my dad told me I needed to study something more useful, like elementary education. I only did that for a year and left and went and worked at a travel agency and have never looked back. There is nothing I love more than planning vacations and helping people live out their travel dreams.
Oh, that's amazing, Laura. What would you say is one of your favorite travel destinations?
Oh, people ask me that probably almost every day. Hawaii is always one of my favorites.
Okay,
There's
I've
something
got to ask you
about
which island.
all of them. Like when you get off the plane in Hawaii, just all of your troubles melt away. I don't know, maybe it's that aloha spirit, but I love it.
That's amazing. So, your favorite is Hawaii. What are some of the most popular destinations that you're seeing retirees choose these days? And how are the travel styles and priorities shifting from somebody who is working and maybe doing a shorter trip to somebody who is now retiring and has a little bit more time that they can travel?
Gosh, those are all good questions. So, starting with someone living out their travel dreams, I would say everyone has a bucket list of some sort. And so usually around the time of retirement, people are trying to check off items of their bucket list, whether that is, they've always wanted to see the animals in Africa, go on safari, or they want to travel with their kids and their grandkids, or whether they want to see the Lights up in Iceland. Everyone has something that they're dying to do, and they want to get that done. Um, I just love help people check off their bucket list.
Let's talk, Laura, a little bit about inside the United States and outside of the United States. And let's start with inside the United States. What do you see are kind of the popular travel destinations that are inside the United States?
Inside the United States, the national parks are a big one.
Mhm.
Um, A lot of times, also, people, going back to the bucket list idea, people have wanted to see like the leaves change
Mm,
in New England. So, New England trips. Um, it's not necessarily United States, but Caribbean cruises are
mhm.
also very popular. One of my very favorite places that's a little bit undiscovered in the United States, I consider it kind of a hidden gem, is South Carolina.
Mm.
Charleston is just amazing. There are great beaches and so much history and culture there. It's a fun place to visit.
That's
Yeah, that's a
awesome.
place that I haven't even thought about before. How about like once we go outside of the United States, what are some of the most popular right now for those who are looking to travel?
Right now, I would say river cruises. Everyone seems to want to do a river cruise, and for good reason. It's a great way to see several countries at once. You'll unpack once on a river cruise, but then you're going upriver or downriver, stopping at like these quaint little European towns, and you've got some great guides showing you the areas, and it's a really relaxing way to travel. And I would say a lot of retirees really, really love to do that.
Any really popular river cruises right now?
Um, the Rhine and the Danube are probably the two most popular. The Rhine goes from Amsterdam down to Basel, Switzerland. And then the Danube, the most popular itinerary is from Germany down to Budapest in Hungary.
Nice.
That's amazing. So, one of the things, like I mentioned, is the very first thing that we talk to somebody about as they're getting closer to retirement is what is the bucket list? And we were looking at this quote from AARP that 52% of seniors age 50 plus rank travel and taking vacations as their number one priority with using their discretionary income. So, as we think about that, um, how do you guys at Morris Columbus Travel help people to be able to use that discretionary income and stay within a budget?
I would say one of the biggest ways is we help people plan ahead. When you plan ahead, you get the best deals on airfare, you get the best deals on the cruises. You can find discounts. I think it is a little bit challenging when people don't plan and are trying to do a spur of the moment thing. And so knowing how much something costs ahead of time, that way you can plan to have the funds available when you're ready to take the trip.
I love that. And, Boss Retirement Solutions, as Tyson mentioned, that's often one of the first responses we hear. When you envision your retirement, what do you see yourself doing? Travel is the top of that list. And we start every relationship by helping you to find your lifestyle goals. And that includes travel. I think sometimes when they hear the word budget, they start pulling out the spreadsheet and adding up how much their utilities are, what their property taxes are going to be. But we like to expand that to include those things that make retirement so enjoyable, which travel is on the top of that list. And our advisors take the time to understand, what's on your bucket list and how can we tailor your blueprint to support those experiences and not just your basic needs. And that is so much fun when we do that. Let's talk a little bit about deeper in costs and planning ahead. Not all trips are created equal, Lara. Some of our families that we serve, we find that they want the luxury cruises. Others prefer hitting the road in an RV. So, Lara, can you walk us through the different types of trips and how the costs can vary? So that if someone is thinking, let's say someone's getting ready to retire, let's talk about what they should plan annually and what that looks like. And of course, it's going to be different for everyone, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I think it's important to decide what types of trips that you'd like to take and who's traveling with you. I would say a lot of my clients who are retirees, one of their dreams is to travel with their family.
Hmm.
And so, whether that is taking all 50 kids on a cruise, or whether that is renting a villa, for 10 of you in the south of France, or whether that's taking a road trip and going to a cabin nearby up in the mountains, you have to decide what's important to you, and how do you like to travel? Like you said, not everybody has the same way that they like to travel. Some people, the only thing they want to do is high-end luxury. Other people are really happy staying close to home and doing multiple road trips.
So you talk about road trips, um, and I want to dive into this a little bit. So I was looking at this AARP article a little bit closer, and they were saying in 2024, people were spending about $5,300 on average for a trip. And in 2025, it's looking to double almost to over $10,000. So what compare with us what somebody could spend on a road trip versus say like a more of a moderate trip like going to South Carolina like you were mentioning.
I've got to be honest, I don't plan a lot of road trips. Most of what I do are trips where there's some airfare involved.
Yeah.
But when planning a road trip, you would have to take into, the cost of gas, insurance on your car, hotel night stays, kind of some of those same things you would plan into a larger, say, South Carolina trip. You've got to figure in airfare, cost of hotel, activities. What are you going to do, when you get there? So it's important to figure out what the purpose of your trip is.
I'm curious, do you have clients that they just book with you every single year? So they give you a budget and say, all right, Laura, let's make this retirement awesome. Here's what our budget is and design us trips.
I would say 85% of my clients do that.
Wow.
Um, and we've got a great relationship where they tell me what their budget is, what they're trying to accomplish, and I find solutions that work for them, that help them. The great thing is that I think the clients and I trust each other. They trust me to give them good ideas. So it's a good relationship.
What would you say is kind of the average budget that you see for travel on the individuals and families that you help?
Oh gosh, average, I would say, for just a couple of seniors traveling, I would probably say 15,000 per trip.
Yeah.
And that would be like an Alaskan cruise or a Caribbean cruise. You could do Europe for that as well. But some of the more expensive trips might be like a safari or
Yeah.
even Japan. Japan is really popular right now,
Hmm.
and that trip is a little bit more expensive than some others.
What would those look like on the upper end? So the average is kind of around 15,000. Where does the upper end look like for a couple?
Upper end, in fact, I've got some clients right now that are spending 50,000
Hmm.
for the two of them for 3 weeks at a high-end luxury resorts, multiple in Europe. I've got another group of 8 people, retirees. They're spending 200,000 for a safari.
That sounds like a fun trip. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I've got some others that are spending 5,000 for a trip a little bit closer to home. So,
Well, one of the guidelines that we give to our clients is they probably should be spending somewhere between 5 and 10% of what they're living off of for those trips. And in general, that seems to work well as a rule of thumb. How far in advance? You mentioned before, you've got to do some planning. How far in advance are these clients? This 85% of your clients that you're helping every year. How far in advance are they looking for you to book for them?
so that's a really good question. How far in advance are they looking, or how far in advance should they be looking? Uh, I would say most people start planning about 4 to 5 months in advance, but in all actuality, a year or more in advance. It surprises people sometimes. In fact, I just had some people call the other day about an August 2026 fjords cruise. We had a hard time finding space, and this is like a year and 3 months ahead of time. But the cabins they wanted were already gone. So a year for a lot of popular destinations, safaris, river cruises, a year or more.
That's a great insight because I think so many people out there they think, great, let's go on a trip, last minute, and then they're disappointed or it ends up costing them way more than they thought because they have to look at other options. So that's a great tip. Think about your annual planning. When we do the Boss Retirement Blueprint for our families, we're planning 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years into the future. Most of our clients, they are going into retirement. So let's say you're 65 years old and now we're designing a plan all the way through age 100. That's long-term planning. It allows you to save a lot of money in taxes. It allows you to be able to optimize your income and all the different twists and turns. And so I can see how that applies, when you think about that. That would be fun to create a 5-year travel plan. Take the bucket list and go to Laura and say, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to break this down for the next 5 years and design us out what the next 5 years looks like. And here's the budget. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, Ryan. And we think about this. So we've got the bucket list. Let's say that Laura, we've people have planned a year out. They know where they're going. They get excited, but we know that planning a trip is about so much more than just booking a flight and hotel that you're helping them with. What should retirees keep in mind when thinking about travel, especially when it comes to how their health is? What kind of insurance maybe should they be looking at if it's a year out? Maybe even some people need something for accessibility. What would you say as far as all that is concerned?
So, yeah, you mentioned the two most important things I think that retirees should be thinking about. Accessibility is one of them. Um, they need to decide if they want to travel with a guide, have someone with them to show them the sights, lead them around, check them in and out of a hotel, someone to carry their luggage for them, if that's the type of trip that they're looking for and that they find easiest, or if they prefer to travel a little bit more independently. Secondly, insurance. It is so, so important for people to check travel insurance policies and I actually recommend travel insurance for everyone, not just an older clientele, because you don't know what's going to happen either before the trip or while you're on the trip. I could tell you story after story of people who did or didn't have travel insurance that wish they did or glad they had it. So it's important to check those policies.
Now, that is important. And a lot of our clients don't realize that Medicare often does not cover expenses outside of the United States. And so, what would happen if you ever have a medical emergency or something like that? Those are some things that you want to look in addition to just your travel insurance to be able to protect what's happening. Great, that's a great tip.
I think it's important too to cover cancellation of a trip,
Hmm.
because even the best laid plans, you could spend quite a bit of money, planning a trip, and for whatever reason something happens and you're unable to take that trip. If you've got really good travel insurance, you get most of your, if not all, of your money back. Without the insurance, a lot of the companies will tell you, "We're so sorry, but we're keeping your money, unfortunately," and that's a disaster.
So let's use an example here. Uh, this example of this client of yours that spent $15,000 total for a couple. How much does travel insurance add to that expense? What does that look like in general?
So it depends. There are a couple of different ways that you can purchase travel insurance. Travel insurance, for the most part, with an outside company is age based. So they price their premiums based on how old you are. Um, or if you were purchasing travel insurance through a vendor, they usually offer a flat rate. It's not age based. So I would estimate a $15,000 trip for a couple in their 70s. You're probably looking at about 350 per person for travel insurance.
So that peace of mind really does go a long way because you're spending so much on that trip. You want to make sure that you're protected.
Definitely. Yeah.
And if someone books a trip through you, Laura, is that something that you can walk them through and help them give them options or point them to some resources where they can find that?
Oh, of course. In fact, every time we plan a trip, I will go through a couple of different insurance scenarios and price, a couple of different policies to find the best fit for them. It's not one size fits all when it comes to insurance.
I love that. Because unexpected events can disrupt even the best laid travel plans. And at Boss Retirement Solutions and Advisors, this is why we run risk assessments for every client. We want to be able to help you prepare for emergencies like medical issues or trip cancellations, make sure that you have the resources available. And we're also going to walk you through the pros and cons to be able to really help you budget that plan out. So, maybe you've got a budget of 15,000. Well, we want to make sure we've got all these additional coverages that you have the right resources to access that. So you're ready for whatever when that comes your way. And in this final segment, we've got about 8 minutes left here, Laura. We want to cover what are the other helpful resources and tools for retirees. And Tyson, let's walk through this.
Yeah. So you think about this from a Boss Retirement Blueprint standpoint, Laura. We help somebody to save for a rainy day or an emergency. You're talking about having insurance for the same reasons. We build out an income plan so that they can have enough income, and that could be set aside for building up a travel budget. Then we help somebody to grow their money so that they can continue to afford those trips throughout their entire retirement journey, which could be 20, 30, even 40 years. Um,
Yeah.
and then, we help them with taxes and passing this on to the next generation. And so when we are talking about the Boss Retirement Blueprint, that's why we have you on, is because we want to talk about this from a financial security standpoint as well. So um, let's say that somebody has some travel rewards that they wanted to use, um, like through Delta or something else. How do they do that efficiently? And can you help them to do something like that?
So, with travel rewards, that is something that they will want to book directly with the airline or directly with the company that they have the rewards with. For example, Delta, they will be able to find the best availability directly with Delta. Delta will walk them through the whole process. So they would need to contact that specific company. That isn't something that travel agents would necessarily do.
I think this brings up the next question. And how can working with someone like you, Laura, actually save money and reduce stress? Because I think it's not only price, but it's also value.
Oh, it is all about value. So, working with a travel advisor, yeah, I mean, you mentioned a retirement blueprint. We also offer kind of a travel blueprint where we map out everything that a client will need. You can figure airfare and hotels and gratuities and excursions and where to eat, give suggestions there. So in fact, for destinations that I personally haven't traveled to, I work with many other advisors that at least one of us has probably been to that destination. Morris Columbus Travel is also part of a larger consortia called Signature Travel, where we have hundreds of resources at our fingertips to put that blueprint together for clients.
That's amazing. Uh, I want to go back to this thought that you had about really generational travel. So maybe the grandparents are saying, we want to take our kids and our grandkids, and maybe even in some cases, great grandkids on a trip. How do you help a family to do that and make that successful with the blueprint?
So it's so funny. Every generational trip that I've planned for anyone, they have said I was worth my weight in gold because figuring out all the logistics of generational travel, how old, are all the kids, who can travel on what day and what destinations can we go to? So I can make suggestions as far as pricing, getting everyone together, but at a price that fits your budget. recommend destinations where everybody will have a good time, not just the little kids or the old kids. So that's where a travel agent can be really helpful. Is we just have so much experience putting together these groups and helping families like that.
I love that. And, many of our clients, they want to travel with family. They want to plan these legacy trips. And just like travel planning, we offer multi-generational planning that we can help not only you, but also your kids and grandkids as they look into the future. And how do you manage these valuable resources that you've worked so hard to build and save? And what about gifting strategies and all these different areas that come into a comprehensive financial plan? Laura, this has been really fun. We're getting close to the end of segment one. If we've got listeners there that want to say, "Hey, Laura, I want you to help me with my couples trip, or I want you to help me with this family trip." What's the best way for someone to get a hold of you?
My direct phone number is 801-483-6484. They can also email me at lmurdoch, but my last name is spelled with an H. So it's MURDOCH at blackpearlservices.com.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura, for being with us today. And thanks to each one of you for joining us as well. If you want to see how travel fits into your retirement, please reach out to Laura, as well as reach out to us for a free copy of your own B.O.S. retirement blueprint. B.O.S. stands for Build the Optimal System of Security. And that's what we want to do, not only to make sure that you have a stress-free retirement, but you can have a stress-free travel opportunity as well. And in our next episode, we're going to be exploring more about the hidden gems of how to make travel even more comfortable and stress-free in retirement. So remember this: retiring successfully today, it doesn't happen by accident. It starts with a plan, and that plan is the B.O.S. Retirement Blueprint. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solutions Podcast with Tyson Thacker and Ryan Thacker. If today's episode inspired you to plan for retirement, go to bossretirement.com/podcast to receive a complimentary B.O.S. Retirement Blueprint. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another story to help you retire with confidence. B.O.S. Retirement Solutions is an independent financial services firm helping individuals create retirement strategies using a variety of investment and insurance products to custom suit their needs and objectives. Investment advisory services are offered by duly registered individuals through B.O.S. Retirement Advisors, B.O.S., an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. The information contained in this podcast is given for informational purposes only, and no statement contained herein shall constitute tax, legal, or investment advice. The information is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. You should seek advice on legal and tax questions from an independent attorney or tax advisor. Our firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.